Welcome to Raaonline. Today's class is knee joint or genual joint. Genu means bent. Knee has a bend, therefore it's otherwise called as genu, and knee joint can also be called as genual joint. Objectives. At the end of the session, first year MBBS students must be able to describe the type, articular surfaces, capsule, synovial membrane, ligaments, relations, movements, and muscles involved in those movements, blood supply, nerve supply, and bursas around the knee joint. And the students must also be able to explain the anatomical basis of locking and unlocking of the knee joint. And they have to be able to describe knee joint injuries with its applied aspects. And in 18.7, they have to explain anatomical basis of osteoarthritis. Coming to the type of joint. The knee joint is the largest joint and it is the most superficial joint found in our body. It is a compound joint and a synovial joint. It is called as compound joint because it is made up of two or more joints, and it is synovial joint because mobility is present there, and it is of condylar variety because the condyles of femur articulates with condyles of tibia and the shape determines it as condylar variety, and depending upon the movement, knee joint is called as hinge joint where the flexion and extension occurs, and including flexion and extension, knee joint will also have some rotational movements, gliding movements, and rolling movements. That's why it's called as modified hinge joint. And how is this joint formed? This joint is formed by two tibiofemoral joints. You can see here, this is the anterior aspect front view, and this is the side view, and this is the back view. In the front view, you can see the tibia, and this is the lateral aspect, and this is the medial aspect. These are the condyles of femur, medial condyle of femur and lateral condyle of femur, and you can see the two joints here, that is tibiofemoral joint medial aspect and the tibiofemoral joint on the lateral aspect. And apart from these two joints, there is one more joint in the middle which is called as patellofemoral joint where the patella articulates with the femur. So, knee joint is a compound synovial joint, condylar variety, and modified hinge joint. Articular surfaces forming the joint are condyles of femur, tibial condyles, and the facets of patella. This view is nothing but the inferior view of the lower end of femur. The condyles of femur are large, curved anteroposteriorly, and the tibial condyles are flat. And this is the patella, the posterior aspect of patella, which show the facets on the medial aspect and on the lateral aspect, which will articulate with the articular surfaces of the femur. So, the articular surfaces or otherwise the bones forming the knee joint are condyles of femur, condyles of tibia, and the posterior aspect of patella. Coming to a few words about femoral condyles. The femoral condyles are present in the lower aspect of the femoral bone. There is a medial femoral condyle and there is a lateral femoral condyle. An intercondylar fossa is present between the medial femoral condyle and the lateral femoral condyle. This intercondylar notch is limited on the anterior aspect and on the posterior aspect by anterior and posterior intercondylar lines. This lateral condyle is wider and the medial condyle is narrow and longer. Lateral condyle is very wide but the medial condyle is narrow and longer. Femoral articular surfaces. This is the articular surface of the femur which is inverted U shape. This articular surface is divided by two faint grooves, a medial groove and the lateral groove. This lateral groove extends from the articular margin up to the margin of intercondylar notch. Similarly, this medial groove extends from the margin of articular margins of the articular surface on the medial condyle up to the intercondylar notch. This groove will separate the femoral articular surface into two parts. The central part is called as patellar articular surface and the lateral aspects are called as femoral articular surface which articulates with the tibia. Coming to the patellar articular surface on the femur, the one which is in the middle is called as patellar articular surface. There is a vertical facet which articulates with patella in full flexion of knee. It extends on both condyles of femur. This facet extends on both condyles of femur, more on the lateral side. It is grooved in the middle for the smooth vertical ridge which is present on the posterior surface of patella. So, this is the anterior surface of patella and this is the posterior surface of patella. This posterior surface of patella is divided by a vertical ridge into two facets, a medial facet and a lateral facet. The corresponding facets will articulate with the patellar articular surfaces on the femur, and there is a vertical ridge in between. This vertical ridge will articulate or will be in contact with the groove on the vertical aspect of the femur.